All right. So America, the United States, I guess is the right. The United States is a military superpower so long as they have military equipment. A battle of attrition would destroy us. I put us right because I'm also in the United States. So um, America loves to swing their stick around. However, um, if you let them swing their stick around long enough, it's going to break, and they don't know how to fix it. Right? So, um, a big stick is great until it meets a wood chipper. And so the wood chipper on its own, right, like every single individual tooth, right, is not going to do all that much, right? However, slowly but steadily, the entire stick gets whittled down, right? And that stick is not coming back once it goes to the wood chipper. You got to go find a new stick. But finding a new stick takes time, and it takes resources, right? You gotta plan your trek. You gotta go find a good stick. You gotta then take that stick. You gotta harvest the stick. You gotta then bring that stick back home. Touch it up, work on it. Give it all the nice handle and all these things, right? You gotta give it a nice polishing, and so. The point I'm trying to make here is that America has a lot of very expensive, advanced, and powerful military equipment, right? We have a lot of very powerful ships and tanks and planes and drones and missiles and bombs. But we can drop them, lose them, or have them get destroyed a hell of a lot faster than we're making them, right? And so in a battle of attrition where we go into battle and we lose 5 ships, but we win, that's great. But if we then go into one more battle right after that and we lose another 5 ships, but we win, that's great. But then we go on another battle right after that and we lose 5 ships, but we win, that's great. But eventually we will not win and we will not have any ships. And then, maybe it'll start to catch on. We'll be like, oh, whoa, we lost like a couple ships there. We should really get more ships. However, I don't know if this will happen because of our arrogance, right? And our self-confidence in ourselves and our power. We're like, we've got so many guns, we don't know what to do with them, right? That's great until you're out of bullets, right? And if you don't, every gun, that's another side tangent, but everyone in America, like the stereotype is everyone in America's got a gun, right? And that's this really scary thought, but not every American in America can make their own bullets and has infinite ammo, right? So, yeah, they all have guns, but they're only useful as long as they have bullets. And it's the same thing with any country, or any military. It does not matter how advanced and how powerful they are. If they have to spend their resources, if they have to use ammunition and equipment in conflicts, that costs money, that costs resources, that costs time, and the infrastructure is not in place to quickly rebuild it, and the supply lines are not in place to quickly rebuild it, and that kind of stuff takes time and it takes effort, and it will not happen overnight. It does not happen overnight. And so, by the time America gets its act together and realizes they have a problem, I have a feeling it's going to be too late. And so what I'm getting at here is that, when it comes to military power and strength, it's only good so long as you can endure. But everything has a failure point. Everything has a point of fracture. It does not matter what it is. If you apply enough stress, it will fail. This is true for everything. This is just a property of materials, right? And so this is not just steel beams that we're talking about. This is not just concrete that we're talking about. This is any structure, any system that is in place. There is always a way to destroy it if you apply enough stress, right? And sometimes it doesn't need to be a lot of force all at once, but it just needs to be a repetitive motion, right? That just slowly chips away at it, right? And so certain things will fail with enough oscillation and vibrations and things along those lines, right? And so that's another reason why things like that have to be monitored in a lot of stuff. And if it's not being properly monitored and they think everything's fine, it's unbreakable, we're indestructible, it's indestructible until it's not, right? The Titanic was unsinkable until it sank, right? No one thought that was going to happen, in theory. You could get into conspiracies, I guess, on that. But no one thought that was going to happen until it did. And they weren't ready, right? There wasn't enough lifeboats on the boat. And I think America's the same way. There's not enough lifeboats on the boat. And so we cannot rebuild at the same rate things are destroyed. And we aren't even prepared for the need to, right? Like, we don't really have shipbuilding in America, right? And if we don't have a navy, right, if our navy gets decimated somehow, then we're kind of cut off from the rest of the world, aren't we? Right? And then we got to rebuild our navy before we can even do anything. And then by that point, like, now we're playing catch up, right? And I don't know. Anyway, you can see this in the Bronze Age collapse. So there was the Bronze Age collapse that happened, and everything went into what they call the Dark Ages, where things totally fell apart because this band of people basically just went across the world, then or the region at the time, not the entire world, but that region, right, the Mediterranean region, and they went around and just decimated everything, right? And all of these countries, they had chariots and archers and all this advanced technology, right? But they were no match for the sheer brute force of these invading, and the sheer brute force, determination, and numbers of these invading people, right? And they were destroyed. These civilizations that were the most advanced they could be for their time and were prospering for that, like, literally thousands of years, or at least hundreds of years, right? More than America has been, right? Literally hundreds of years of prosperity just to literally get sent back to basically the Stone Age, right? The quote-unquote Stone Age, right? And I don't think that is just a one-off scenario. I think that this is hey, keep that in mind for the future, because at some point, right, 10,000 men with a gun in hand will overpower a tank and can be replaced more easily and also re-equipped far faster, right? So in order to create one tank, it takes significantly more resources and energy to build, deploy, and maintain, right? However, people, on the other hand, in the grand scheme of things, are quite cheap. And so if it takes 1,000 people to destroy one tank, at some point, the people are going to overpower the equipment, right? And then at some point, it'll go from 1,000 people to take out one tank to 1,000 people to take out 5 tanks. Because when there are less tanks, there's less support, and it's easier and easier, and they will also get better and better at figuring out how to destroy tanks over time, right? The more experience they have, the more dangerous they become, which is also probably the case with the whole Bronchids collapse scenario. But it really just puts everything into perspective when you realize that, hey, like, maybe we're not as powerful as we think we are, and maybe we need to chill out, right? Because maybe this is going to backfire in our face so hard that we won't have a face. You know, so, we should really think about that, right? Yeah, I don't know if we will, but this is just thoughts that I had on our current military might and the state of the world and what we think we are and what we actually are. And so, yeah, I think that's that.